In recent days, the eyes of the world have turned once again to the Middle East. New explosions, new attacks, and a growing sense that history is entering yet another critical moment. It all began with the announcement of a new military operation. The United States, in coordination with Israel, launched strikes against strategic targets linked to the Iranian regime. The operation was given the name Operation Epic Fury. According to military officials, the objective is to weaken structures considered dangerous to international security. But as always happens in times of war, the consequences of a decision like this go far beyond the battlefield. They cross borders. They impact economies. And many times, they also divide consciences. This time, an unexpected division began to emerge within a place that normally seeks unity, the churches. Within the United States, religious leaders began taking very different positions on the conflict. Some believe the military action is necessary. Others believe it could lead the world toward an even greater tragedy. On one side, prominent evangelical leaders publicly expressed support for the operation. On March 5th, a group of influential pastors and Christian leaders was invited to a meeting in the Oval Office at the White House. Among them were well-known names such as Ralph Reed and Samuel Rodriguez. They gathered with President Donald Trump. During the meeting, a public prayer was held. The words of the prayer asked for something many Americans have requested in times of war: protection for the soldiers being sent into the conflict. But the prayer also included another request: a request for victory. Victory against what these leaders consider a threat to global stability. For many conservative evangelicals, the conflict is not seen merely as a political or military dispute. It is also interpreted as part of a larger struggle, a struggle between systems of power, values, and worldviews. Within that perspective, supporting the government and the armed forces can be seen as a way of defending what they believe to be fundamental principles of freedom and security. But on the other side of the debate, other Christian voices began raising serious concerns. Leaders from historic churches and the Catholic tradition expressed fear about the direction events may be taking. The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops released an urgent statement shortly after the first strikes. In the document, the bishops warned that the world may be approaching a tragedy of immense proportions. They noted that military conflicts in the Middle East often have unpredictable effects. Wars that begin with limited objectives can quickly transform into far larger confrontations, especially when regional powers and international alliances enter the picture. For that reason, the statement made a clear appeal. Before the situation advances to a point of no return, it is necessary to seek diplomatic paths. It is necessary to open space for dialogue. It is necessary to remember that every decision made now can affect millions of lives. The concern did not come only from Catholic leadership. The Presbyterian Church, USA, also published a strong statement. Its leaders affirmed that the mission of the church is not to support military escalation. For them, the role of Christian faith must be to promote reconciliation, justice, and peace. According to the declaration, history has shown many times that prolonged wars bring suffering not only to soldiers, but above all, to civilians. Displaced families. Destroyed cities. Entire generations marked by violence and trauma. In light of this, these religious leaders called on the United States to reconsider the path it is taking, and to try to prevent an even greater global crisis. This division within the churches reveals something important. Throughout history, Christians have frequently faced difficult dilemmas when the subject is war. There is an ancient theological debate known as the theory of the just war. A tradition that holds a war can only be considered morally acceptable if very specific conditions are met: legitimate defense, last resort, and always with the goal of restoring peace. But in practice, deciding whether those conditions are truly being met is never simple. And that is exactly the kind of debate now happening again. Inside churches, inside seminaries, inside communities of faith. Some believe that confronting regimes considered dangerous is a moral responsibility. Others believe that any war always represents a failure of humanity to find paths of peace. While leaders debate, the world continues watching. Millions of people of faith are doing what they have always done in times of crisis. They are praying. Praying for wisdom for their leaders. Praying for the safety of soldiers and civilians. Praying that decisions made in rooms of power will not lead the world into even greater suffering. Because history makes one thing very clear: wars can begin quickly, but their consequences can last for generations.